On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we're going to take a look at ISS, International Space Station.
Not school suspension.
Yeah, in school suspension. The United States and the cosmonauts, the astronauts versus the cosmonauts. They should have thought of a better title for this movie.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, but we're going to dive into that review. We'll talk about spoilers, but we'll start off non-spoilers. We'll warn you before we, reveal any plot details. So if you want to jump straight to that review, check on the time codes down in the description. Beforehand, we're going to talk about some of the things that happened in the world of entertainment this week, including...
Yeah, we're going to talk about the trailer for Spaceman. Going to talk about how apparently Andrew Garfield is no longer in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. And also Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the new game, had a little bit of a showcase. So I'll talk about that a bit too.
Ooh, awesome. Again, jump down into the into the description for any of those time codes if you want to go right to those discussions. Otherwise, stick around for the whole show. I am Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for Tom.
Tom.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
All right, Jimmy, before we talk ISS, let's do some Toms.
Yes, let's talk about the Toms.
The Toms. Toms is a rapid-fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of three famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron somewhere in between.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy,
Holden.
let's get to it.
Trailer for Spaceman. It is Adam Sandler. He's in space. It's a talking Paul Dano spider
thing.
Space spider.
Yeah, so this is a new Netflix sci-fi drama directed by Johan Renck, who's previously did the Chernobyl series, which we quite enjoy. Mm-hmm. Apparently he's also like a musician and stuff, quite a versatile man. But
some Breaking Bad episodes as well.
Yes. Yeah. What'd you think of this trailer?
Wow. It's one of those just sci-fi, just pure sci-fi. What's real, what isn't real. Mm-hmm. I think it looks good. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm going to like this movie. I think it's going to be boring. But I want it to be good and I want to like it. I just am like, oh no, it's going to be really slow and pondering and everybody's going to love it. And I'm just going to say, I think it's good. I just didn't like it. That's kind of where I'm thinking this is going.
Sure.
I hope it's good. I really hope it's a big swing. Space spider, who on earth,
a talking space spider,
who on earth comes up with this
It's quite
stuff?
a turn in the trailer too. I was not expecting it at first. So.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're getting something unique out of Netflix that they have their Netflix money that apparently they don't make, but they spend anyway, that they're just spending on this movie. It's a big swing. Johan Renck is an established TV director. Mm-hmm. The writer, Kobe Day, doesn't have really that many credits. So, I hope it works well so these guys can, have a stepping stone to the next film they want to make. But obviously rooting for this one, just skeptical as to whether or not I will like it, just because it's looks very self-contained on this ship with just Adam Sandler and this space spider.
Depressed Adam Sandler.
Do you think they're going to be intimate?
I don't know. I was wondering that. Maybe.
It's Carey Mulligan. Yeah, Carey Mulligan.
Wife back on home.
Back on home.
On Earth.
On the home world. I'm intrigued. I'll give it a Brokaw, our highest rating. Why not? I'm rooting for it. I just don't think I'll like it.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I think the trailer looks good. I mean, I'm always down for an Adam Sandler gives a good performance movie, which you get one every few years. So that's fun.
They should remake this movie, but with like 1990s Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah, that'd be funny.
Just the same exact premise, just completely different take.
Yeah, from like The Water Boy or Little Nicky or something.
The spider just bit my hiney. Ow! Ouch, spider.
Yeah, no. Looks like it'll be cool. It'll be a bit mind bending and everything. Yeah, I'm interested in it. I'll probably watch it. We'll see. Maybe it's good. Brokaw.
Castaway for Adam Sandler. Do you think the spider's real?
I don't. I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like the obvious answer would be no, but I feel like I want to say yes.
No, spider's not real.
You don't think the spider's real?
But the spider was with him. It was in him the whole time.
The spider was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, it's the part of himself that he's discovering.
Yeah,
and he's gonna love his wife at the end or something.
Yeah, who knows what's happening there? Anyway,
I think it'd be great if Spider was real.
I want Spider to be real.
Want Spider to be real.
I want Paul Dano's Spider to be real.
Yes.
Anyway.
Not real, but real for the movie.
Next up, the Emmys happened this week, Jimmy. Lots of awards, except not for one show in particular.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul has now officially has the record of most nominations with least amount of wins. That's 53 nominations over its entire run with no wins. Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Insane, right?
I think it's because nobody saw I think the people voting on the Emmys probably did not watch Better Call Saul.
You don't think so?
No.
Why not?
Because they're like, oh, I saw Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I don't need to watch Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I just don't think people... I mean, a lot of people just didn't watch it. I think it's the thing. People didn't... The first few seasons or whatever, weren't the high action of Breaking Bad. So I think a lot of people who are more like the Breaking Bad fans just were like, and they just didn't watch it. So I think people didn't watch it, and that's why it didn't win anything. Also, Succession happened, and Game of Thrones also was happening.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing was, especially in its second half, Succession was happening, and Succession swept these Emmys. In fact, I think it won Best Drama, but it won like all of the acting ones too. Sarah Snook won for Best Actress, Kieran Culkin Best Actor, supporting actor, Matthew McFadden. I was gonna say, it was a bunch of Succession people. Unfortunately, the one that I was surprised by though is supporting actress for drama. Rhea Seehorn lost to Jennifer Coolidge from White Lotus, which she's very good in White Lotus, but I don't know. I don't think she holds a candle personally to Rhea Seehorn.
Nobody watched it, Holden.
Yeah.
It also came out a long time ago.
Yeah, and not only did it come out a long time ago, but the Emmys have been delayed too. Like from the point where it got nominated to where it is now, it's probably like the biggest gap of any show. So I don't know, disappointing. Beef won a bunch. Both of lead actors won. I think it also won for best miniseries. Bear swept.
People are winning awards for the Jeffrey Dahmer show. What?
Oh yeah, look at that.
How long ago did that come out?
I never watched that.
That was good.
Yeah, interesting.
Beef was great. Beef was
great.
Excellent. I'm glad Beef won a lot of stuff. If you haven't watched Beef yet on Netflix, go check it out.
The Bear pretty much swept everything for comedy in terms of writing and acting and everything. I guess that's kind of the main stuff. Mostly The Bear, Beef, and Succession won everything. I think Barry won a stunt coordination thing, but yeah.
I forgot Barry ended.
Yeah. I don't know. So pretty much just 3 shows swept the Emmys. Disappointing Better Call Saul didn't win.
Yeah, I mean, look, 53 nominations or whatever, it's almost more significant that it had so many nominations and didn't win than it did win anything.
Yeah, nominations in a way are still recognition of its accomplishments, but yeah, it stinks that I saw this compilation of every year that Bob Odenkirk was nominated and didn't win, his reaction on the little squares or whatever that come up. And it's just he gets more and more sad as it goes on. Feel bad for him.
Who was best actor?
Best actor for
a drama.
It was Kieran Culkin.
Kieran Culkin. Nice.
Well, she's very good.
He was excellent.
So, yeah, I don't know. Emmys, thoughts?
I mean, look, Succession season 4 was fantastic.
It was.
They nailed it.
Yeah.
And Better Call Saul season 6 was also fantastic. So
if I had to pick, I'd probably like Better Call Saul more. But I think in general, I just like Better Call Saul more than Succession. But it's very close. They're both great.
They're 2 of the great shows of all time, I would say. And and I haven't seen The Bear yet, but everybody loves The Bear. So
yeah,
I'm in just the very top heavy TV show years, last couple of years. So yeah, no, I have no problems with it. Bummer that, I would have liked to see Rhea Seehorn win or anything, maybe for Bob Odenkirk. But look, I mean, once Succession season 4 came out, I was like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's no chance.
It's too bad. But yeah, the Emmys, sure, I'll give it to Brokaw. Why not?
Sure.
Good job.
All good shows.
Good job, Emmy winners.
Of the Bear, but. Jimmy. Andrew Garfield has apparently dropped out of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and has been replaced by Jacob Elordi. And Jacob Elordi, who played Elvis Presley in the Priscilla movie, he was just in Saltburn as well. Very tall man from Euphoria. He apparently he confirmed that he is playing Frankenstein's monster in this movie. Andrew Garfield apparently dropped out due to scheduling conflicts. So
what's Andrew Garfield making instead then?
Who knows?
Spider-Man, perhaps?
3?
No, I don't know. Spider-Man, Amazing
Cameo
Spider-Man.
at the end of Madam Web.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Guillermo del Toro, legendary film director. I'm going to nope out of your movie to film a cameo for Madam Web.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Elordi, he's getting a lot of work recently. He's very talented. He has definitely the height to be a Frankenstein. He is so tall. This man, I think, is like 6'7".
Wow.
6'5", something like that. Very tall. Got the stature for it. I think it'd be cool. So
I am not familiar with his work at all, so I am going to go with the Bergeron for lack of knowledge here.
I'll go for Bergeron. I like him a lot. I am disappointed Andrew Garfield dropped out because he's also very good. But yeah, Bergeron.
There we go.
Jimmy, it was confirmed this week that Chad Stahelski's next movie is not Ghost of Tsushima. It is Highlander, which we have talked about.
He's making a movie about an SUV
Yeah.
or a crossover or whatever that is.
It's a reboot of the classic 80s franchise of the same name. I had previously talked about Henry Cavill is attached to star in it. I don't know much about Highlander. If Chad Stahelski is attached, I'm interested, but yeah, I don't know much about it.
He's making a movie about Obi-Wan Kenobi at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I'm going to go Bombadil just because I want to see Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
And this movie, I'm still looking forward to this movie.
Yeah,
it is,
of course.
But I just, for the sake of drama, Holden. Bombadil because I want Ghost of Tsushima. I can't get enough of Jin Sakai.
I'll give it a Bombadil as well. I think I'm being a bit of a pessimist. I'm worried the Ghost of Tsushima movie is just never going to happen.
Well, unless they're like, well, look, PlayStation's like, or Sony's like, hey, look, Chad, like Ghost of Tsushima 2 is coming out like 2025 or whatever, 2026. Maybe make this movie, then the Ghost of Tsushima movie will be more lined up with the second game or something.
Maybe. Here's hoping. Still hope it happens. Speaking of PlayStation movies, though, Jimmy, apparently they're making an Until Dawn movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. David F. Sandberg, who directed Lights Out, Annabelle Creation, and both Shazam films, is directing.
Good for him.
Yeah, Gary Dauberman is writing it. He wrote basically every Conjuring spinoff except for The Nun 2, as well as both It movies.
That's pretty impressive for a Doberman.
Yeah. But Sony's Screen Gems, who's producing, described it as a love letter to the horror genre, which is what the game is anyway. What do you think about an Until Dawn movie?
Unnecessary.
Yeah,
I mean, why just play the game?
The game is already is a large part of it is like an interactive movie and everything.
Very
fun.
And
I feel like a lot of the appeal of the game is like the choices you can make and the consequences of those choices. So now, unless they come up with something very creative, which they could, they're gonna have to come up with like a definitive timeline. I guess,
you could Netflix Bandersnatch it or something.
That could be interesting.
But I don't know. I unnecessary, but fun. I like Until Dawn. I don't know if the story and the lore is enough to make it worth seeing as a movie. It's it was just a really fun thing to play. So will it translate into a movie? I don't know. I'll go Bergeron. Good for David F. Sandberg. He seems like a nice guy. Shazam 2 was not the movie I think you probably hoped it was going to be.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool if he had another hit.
You don't think he wanted the Skittles in there?
I don't even remember the Skittles.
Yeah, there's a big Skittles product placement all over that movie.
Yeah. I don't. I forgot that movie. Did that come out last year?
Yeah, that was March last year. It feels like ages ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm iffy on it because it
Is
takes away the
Rami
choice.
Malek going to be in it again?
Yeah, that's why I was like. That's the other thing about it is that you have these actors that it has pretty good motion capture in it, and it's just they're literally just like playing motion captured versions of themselves and everything. So I think you'd probably just have to get a new cast.
Yeah,
You probably couldn't even. I don't know. It'd be weird.
Yeah, it would be. It will be weird because you will have to make a definitive version of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe they'll just look at the stats and figure out the choices that were made at each crew and pick whatever was most picked. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Fun game. I recommend playing it if you have a PlayStation.
Yeah, I'll give it.
And
a
you like
Bergeron.
horror.
I'll give it a Bergeron. Could be interesting. Like the game.
I gotta finish the Quarry still.
Yeah.
With my sister whenever she's back in town.
Jimmy, other news. Some more White Lotus season 3 cast was announced. Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins.
Yeah, he's in it, which
Wow.
I love Walton Goggins. I think he's very good. He's in like the Hateful Eight, Justified. He's the bad guy in the Tomb Raider movie.
Yeah. To bring originality to that. Yeah. Alicia Vikander, Tomb Raider. What year did that come out? 2019?
That was pre-podcast, but it was still a while ago.
2018? Mm-hmm. What a movie that just disappeared into the ether. Mm-hmm. With its just Saw-esque ending. Where it just black and white, like flash, cut away twist.
I don't even remember that. That's my Shazam Skittles bit for this podcast. I don't remember that. I'm even more impressed you remember that though. That forgettable movie.
Very forgettable.
But also Patrick Schwarzenegger, who was in Gen V. He was the guy who
Luke. Was he Luke?
Yeah, he was Luke.
The kid at the beginning.
Yeah, kid at the beginning.
The super golden boy.
Yes. And Amy Lou Wood, who was in Sex Education, which I've seen some of. She's very good. So, yeah, thoughts on any of these?
Whatever, sure. Bergeron. No strong opinion here. Nothing super positive, super negative. These people, I haven't seen Amy Lou Wood, but Walton Goggins, Patrick Schwarzenegger were good in what I've seen them in.
Yeah, I'll give it a Brokaw. Walton Goggins was, I think he's one of my favorite just like bit part actors. Whenever he shows up in things, I'm always happy. So yeah. Jimmy, a movie about SNL's early days is being made.
Wow.
Apparently.
Back when it was just really good.
Yeah, Saturday Night
Back
Live.
when everything was so funny and just everything was amazing and it all holds up really well.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing you've ever seen if you go back and watch
Chevy
it right
Chase is so hilarious. No one even holds a candle.
Jason Reitman is writing and directing the movie. It's called SNL 1975, apparently. Jason Reitman previously did that Ghostbusters Afterlife, but he also did like Juno, Up in the Air, some critically acclaimed movies in the past. Gabriel LaBelle, who played Sammy Fableman in The Fablemans, is apparently playing a young Lorne Michaels, who's the producer of SNL. Cooper Hoffman, who is the male lead of Licorice Pizza, is apparently playing NBC exec Dick Ebersol. And Rachel Sennett, who is in Bodies, 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 and Bottoms, plays Michael's ex-wife, Rosie Schuster.
I like all these people. Hopefully Jason Reitman is the right man for the job. I'll give it a Brokaw. Why not? I can't wait for my parents to be like, I know all these things.
Yeah, this seems like a movie where you're just gonna have a lot of like people playing young versions of famous people, like a lot of just cameos. You'll have like a young Bill Murray or a young, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
people playing.
I'm Steve Martin.
Yeah,
I wasn't part of the cast, but I hosted a bunch.
Yeah. I'll give it a Bergeron. I like the cast. Jason Reitman. I at least like Juno and Ghostbusters Afterlife was okay. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm really interested in like particularly a movie about SNL from 1975 because as we were joking earlier, it's really not that funny if you go back.
I think original SNL is maybe the most overrated comedy. Wow, it's offensive.
There's
like,
this
hilarious.
There's this whole like discussion online that like whatever you grew up with, you think is the best SNL, which is maybe true, but I still think like mid 2000s, late 2000s is the funniest to me. Which I don't know. Would be what I grew up with.
I think all SNL is very hit or miss.
It's true.
Like you just. Every generation's gonna have amazing sketches that are absolutely hilarious, and 80% of them are just gonna be absolutely nothing.
And you never hear about those because there's always a couple dozen that you hear about from like each era or whatever that hold up pretty well. But that is like just 20% of the sketches.
I don't think any era is better than the others. I just think like 20% of the sketches are really good. And if you're like, you just remember the sketches from the time that you consistently watched it.
Yep.
You're going to be watching like, most of this stuff isn't even funny. Well, that's what SNL's been like forever. They have to write new material every week, an hour of new material.
I think it also just depends on like what cast you like too. Like it's constantly changing and everything. And I personally am partial to the cast of that mid 2000s era, like
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah,
Holden's a big Jimmy Fallon
That'd be like
guy.
late 90s, right?
I don't know. I thought he was around in the. I thought he was around
maybe
in the
mid 2000s. I guess maybe I'm thinking late 2000s, early 2010s when you've got like Andy Samberg, Tina Fey. I guess would be writing, starring, Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader.
Yeah,
kind of that era.
Was Kate McKinnon around yet then?
Maybe end of that.
Yeah. Keenan. I mean, I remember like
2001 or something.
He's been around that long,
or maybe not that long. Mid 2000s. He's been around a long time.
Yeah, consistently very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. What's the Pete Davidson?
Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Is he still on SNL?
I don't think so. I think
he seems too famous to be on SNL anymore.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't watch it anymore.
I don't either. Not unless there's like a viral sketch or something. Jimmy, last bit of news and most of all here, Polar Express 2.
This is not the last bit of movie news.
Last bit of movie news. And most exciting of all, apparently they're making a Polar Express 2, according to the producer of the first movie, Gary Goetzman. How do you say that?
I only am interested if Tom Hanks mocaps all the roles again. And we get exclusive.
I forgot. Yeah, he did so many roles.
I want it to just be the footage of him going around the mocap suit. I don't want an animated movie. I just want him doing all the actions.
I'm not sure I don't know if I've seen footage of him doing it at Polar Express, but I want something like Benedict Cumberbatch in The Hobbit movies.
I was gonna say I want Tom Hanks doing that, and in the background it's Benedict Cumberbatch playing Smaug.
Yeah, which is a classic. If you haven't seen that behind the scenes footage, very funny. He gets so into it.
Boy, I'm indifferent.
I don't like Polar Express, so I'm going to give it a Bombadil. I don't want to see a sequel. And it's probably going to be Robert Zemeckis, who is...
Flip a coin.
We say flip a coin, but I feel like it's more it's more miss than hit at this point.
Russian roulette. But if you get shot, it's good.
Russian roulette, but 5 of the chambers are loaded.
Now on to a little bit of TOG, our That One Gaming podcast, famous... semi-recurring segment here, but somewhat of a big one, Holden. It's a little bit movie related, but there was an Xbox showcase, and as you know, we're big PlayStation fanboys over here. But Xbox showcase, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We got some footage, we got a little bit of gameplay, a little story trailer. Initial reactions to this, Xbox/PC exclusive, not coming to the PlayStation. What are your initial thoughts? Did you end up watching the full 13-minute version thing? Okay.
I just watched the gameplay trailer.
Okay. So I watched a little bit more of that.
Yeah. In terms of the gameplay trailer, I mean, it looks interesting. It's made by Machine Games, which is under Bethesda's ZeniMax. So they got bought up in that acquisition a few years back. But Machine Games previously did the Wolfenstein reboot games, which very good. Really like them. This is first person adventure game. Seems to have, there's the whip. You got guns. You got punching. Classic Indiana Jones stuff. Seems like there's going to be some stealth and everything.
Yep.
Which is in line with how they did it in the Wolfenstein games. I feel like their experience on Wolfenstein is going to help out a lot here because gameplay wise and I mean setting wise to an extent, I guess you can there's a lot of crossover. I think it was smart for them to do it in first person and everything. Even though there seems to be some discourse about that online, I've kind of warmed up to it.
I would have preferred third person. Mm-hmm. The first person, I just like the game. First person works great for guns. I think I just like Indiana Jones doesn't really use his gun that often.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be an all the time thing.
We'll see. I mean, obviously you have to play it before you can really judge the gameplay aspect of it. But it's first person, but there are like whenever you're doing platforming or kind of doing specific things where you're climbing or something like that,
line.
It will go to third person. Just for puzzles and stuff, it makes sense to me. When watching the full 13-minute kind of presentation thing, one of the things they got into is they said adventure first, and they said more puzzles than action.
That makes sense.
But then they said the majority. I want to say they said the majority. I might be quoting that wrong. A very significant amount of the puzzles will be optional. And I thought that was very curious because this game from the gameplay trailer seems quite linear. Yeah. And that's what I would think you would want to make an Indiana Jones game, very linear, a la Uncharted, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider, you got to I never did play the third one, whatever that one's, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the Planet of the Apes. All right. But that second one, you had like little kind of hub things where it's like, okay, here's the main story, but there's a tomb over here you can check out. Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's going to be a little bit like that. I just thought that was a very curious comment. Like, oh, there's going to be these puzzles, but you don't have to do them. They're like going to be optional things on the side. Because I'm like, this is not a game I'm looking for a lot of side content. I just kind of want a nice focused story.
Unless they said it differently, I wonder. There's some games that like for accessibility reasons you can just like skip the puzzles. So I wonder if that's what they mean.
Well, no, they said they were like, we create a lot of puzzles. There will be like several of them in the main story, but a lot of them will be optional. Like it sounded the way it was phrased when I watched it the one time in the Popeyes parking lot waiting for Holden to arrive. They made it sound like that there were going to be some ones that you're required to do in the story, and then there was additionally all these optional ones.
Interesting.
So unless I'm interpreting that incorrectly, which could be possible, that's what I kind of gained from the trailer, or from the kind of extended cut of them talking about everything.
Yeah.
Story-wise, it's set in between Raiders and The Last Crusade. Yep. No big surprise there. Looks like World War II is going on.
Yeah, I mean, Nazis still around, so makes sense.
I think it's... I'm convinced, like, Great Circle, not a great title.
Nah, lame title.
Yeah. But I'm kind of convinced that this may be the avenue of storytelling for Indiana Jones. Like... you said Troy Baker is voicing him. Incredible. Yeah. I mean, absolutely insane. Harrison Ford is a hard voice to emulate, and he nailed it. Like it sounds exactly like him. The cadence is perfect.
I think the face is actually pretty good too. Like I feel like you run the risk of being Uncanny Valley with that, but I think it looks pretty good, honestly.
Yeah.
So get the Harrison Ford experience without Harrison Ford, I guess.
Yeah. And they said that the cutscenes were third person as well. But I think they just nailed the vibe with that. So it makes me like, what is this kind of, is this where we're going to get our Indiana Jones stories now? And
there used to be a lot of Indiana Jones games, like in the 90s, early 2000s, and then they kind of just stopped.
Yeah. I had one on this Nintendo 64 that there was like this underwater puzzle that when I was like 10 years old, I could not figure out. I think it was Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine or something.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to play what's like the Emperor's Tomb or something, because that's about Qin Shi Huang and the Terracotta Warriors.
What system is that on, do you know?
Teach about that might be Xbox 360. Let's see. Or maybe Xbox. It must be Xbox.
Yeah, I feel like by the 360 era, they kind of stopped making
2003. So yeah, Xbox.
You can get it on Steam, looks like, maybe.
Wow. Look at that.
$6.
I'm not going to be able to play it on anything, though.
Yeah, true.
But, I want to check that one out eventually. But, I just think that, like, I hope this does well so we can get a lot of games, or at least several games in this kind of time. You get to go, they talked about there's a few locations you go to. One of them is the Great Pyramids. So nice. I'm very excited about that. Looks like you're going to the Vatican too, other places. I'm really excited about this because Indiana Jones is one of my favorite franchises. It's the one that got me into movies. I literally teach ancient history. So, it's kind of my favorite things culminating, and I'm excited because I'll have an Xbox to play this on. So there we go. Exciting.
I was telling Jimmy that for me, the first person I think makes sense because it distinguishes it more from Uncharted.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the switching is kind of weird. I'm not convinced about that. Granted, it's probably the best option in some cases, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting to do first person. And there are some games that do like first person melee combat, and do it pretty well. So I think there's a template for that you could go off of. So I don't know.
I am just not convinced that will be satisfying. I hope beyond
it's gonna be
that it's good.
Big sound design thing, I think, in terms of if that's satisfying. So.
But this is clearly at the top of my anticipated games, not because it was announced for 2024. So there we go.
Oh, it was?
Yes, that's in the extended one. So this is my most anticipated game of 2024 now. Sorry, Rise of Ronin.
Oh, Final Fantasy is still number one for me.
There we go. But yeah, no, bad name. Good looking trailer. The graphics not super impressive.
The slight tangent here. I saw this like list that someone made of like movie titles that would make a much better like Indiana Jones subtitle. Just in general, there was like Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, like Indiana Jones and the Empire of the Sun, and there's just a bunch of those. I thought it was a fun.
Yeah, I saw a Reddit list that it was like Doctor Who titles.
Oh, sure.
Episode titles. And they were fantastic.
Yeah, Doctor Who. Yeah, there's a lot of those that would probably work.
Like in the Arc of Infinity, or something like that. I mean, really, Indiana Jones and you can make anything sound cool. Great Circle.
No.
Like should have just left it with the Latin, like and the Circus Magni or something like that. Even that sounds cooler.
That sounds way cooler. Yeah, I agree. That's stupid. dumb title. Dial of Destiny. Great Circle. What's with these titles?
Dial of Destiny is better than the Great Circle.
It is, but I also remember when that was first announced, we were both kind of like,
You were mainly, I'm going to give this a Brokaw Holden. I'm excited. I love Indiana Jones. Please be good.
Yeah, I'll give it a Brokaw, even though I probably will not play it for a long time because I don't have a system.
I'll lend you it, Holden. I'll say, Holden, this is so good.
You got to play it.
Oh, nice thing is, right, you can just buy Game Pass for a month and then you just have it.
Yeah, because they do concurrent releases on Game Pass for the most part.
Yeah, so that's my plan then.
Nice,
right? Otherwise, that's it for news, right? This week, Holden.
Yeah, that's it. Okay,
well, let's go on to our review of
TOMPeyes.
Oh, TOMPeyes. That's right, of Popeyes, and yes, we do have to talk about Popeyes this week.
It was a good experience overall, but we get there. It is a very cold night out, blizzardy, and they're very low staffed, as we think the reason. Maybe also supply chain
very
issues.
Low supplied.
Yeah. But we get there, and this very friendly worker tells us that we can only buy what they have like on hand, like what they have prepared, because I think they're gonna like close up once it's all sold.
Shout out to Jay Jones, friendly guy. Yes, he. Apparently sang a nice song for the customer in front of us, exclusive for her.
Oh,
he
nice.
said no singing for us. That was a one-time experience for her.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that.
Very friendly, probably the most friendly, nice, upbeat, outgoing Popeyes.
Yeah, I feel like
person
that
we've ever
just
met
crushes people, but not him. He's got a good spirit.
He was just like, "Hey guys, welcome. I'll just let you know we don't like here are the three sides. We have like red beans and rice, mashed potatoes, and coleslaw are like the three sides tonight. I have very limited chicken. I'm selling what I have, and then I'm closing for the night." And this was like 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But again, terrible weather in South Dakota this last week. So,
so it makes
probably
sense.
just a supply chain issue.
They had the chicken we wanted, right?
Yeah.
Like they had 5 tenders left, so I got a 5-piece tenders, which was nice. You got your chicken. Did they have dark meat?
No, they did.
Okay.
And he was talking about how good dark meat was.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like, yep, people sleep on the dark meat, man. He's like, it's the best stuff.
I got red beans and rice. He prepared it a special way. I did not like the way he prepared it, unfortunately.
But we didn't have a control to compare it with.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just their normal red beans and rice. I'd never had Popeyes red beans and rice before, so hard to tell.
I think he put like the garlic parmesan sauce on it or something.
Yeah, which I think was my issue because I'm not a big Parmesan guy. Do you like garlic though?
The mashed potato. I got the mashed potatoes and gravy. I'm not a huge mashed potatoes and gravy person. It was a little strange tasting. I did miss the fries. I was like, I would have liked.
Fries are so good.
I would have liked my greasy fries. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. But I got my chicken. That's the main thing, and it was fun to meet Jay. So overall, great experience at Popeyes. Yeah. Very unique. The gift that keeps on giving. A brokaw for me, definitely.
Yeah, brokaw for me too. Really liked it. Yeah,
awesome.
Nice guy.
Now we can dive into our review. Holden, thank you for reminding me. We would have missed out on that great Popeyes anecdote there. Now we are going to dive into our non-spoiler, all right, that's right, spoiler-free thoughts on I.S.S.
I.S.S., the new sci-fi film from Gabriella Cowperthwaite, I think is how you say her name. She directed Blackfish, the documentary.
Yeah,
what's this?
About the orcas.
About the orcas, very famous one, but this is not a documentary.
No, not well. It's predictive of the future.
Yes.
Here's our synopsis. Holden. Tensions flare in the near future aboard the International Space Station when a worldwide conflict breaks out on Earth. Soon, the U.S. and Russian astronauts each receive orders from the ground. Take control of the station by any means necessary. Bum, bum, bum.
Yes.
Great premise.
Yeah,
Great premise.
very cool
Great
premise.
Trailer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the trailer was interesting. This movie I feel like had like no marketing behind it. We saw this in a completely empty theater opening night.
Again, not great weather.
Yeah, not great weather. It was the same night as the Popeyes journey. But I've seen like no one talk about this movie really. Like there's a couple I've seen a review pop up here or there online, but I've seen like really no discussion and like on social media or anything. I haven't really seen like social media ads or anything. I don't know anyone that has like heard of this movie aside from us, honestly.
Well, it came out like the trailer dropped and then it was out.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And then, this movie's out.
It's probably a month and a half, 2 months ago the trailer dropped.
Was it that long?
I think so. Yeah, okay. I think so. But regardless, that's still a pretty short time. But yeah,
I like this movie, Holden. It's not a great movie. It doesn't quite live up to the premise, but I had enough fun with it was just like a nice, fun movie to see in the theater. It reminded me a little bit of like Nonstop, like one of those Liam Neeson movies where it's like you just go, you're like, this is not like a fantastic movie, but it's you're like kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and the ending doesn't quite pull it all together. But you had a good time. And, so it's like, it's only 90 minutes. I really liked the premise. I thought for the most part, especially inside the International Space Station, it was very convincing looking.
Yeah, it looked great. Great set design for the inside of the space station. I don't know how like accurate it is to how the actual ISS looks.
Well, there's like a spacewalk, and I've done like a VR spacewalk demo, and it was very similar to at least the beginning of the spacewalk was very similar to the beginning, like the actual spacewalk in this VR demo that I've done for like the International Space Station.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm sure that there's so many things there that are inaccurate about this movie.
Yeah, probably.
Like someone's literally got like a blowtorch.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's not going to be allowed. I like this. I thought the performances were pretty good. I thought it was pretty well directed, pretty well paced. There would be some things I would change about it. It doesn't live up to the concept completely, but I had fun watching it. And I think this is a movie that's gonna like kind of be forgotten, but it's a little bit like the way Gran Turismo was for me this last year. Like, it's not going to be in my top 10 when we go back, and it's not going to be mentioned for anything, but it was much better than I thought it was going to be. And I just had like a good time with it.
I honestly, I was thinking about it after seeing the movie. I feel like I have a very similar opinion to this movie as Book of Clarence. Honestly, I think there's a lot of like very different movies, obviously,
Very different movies.
but I feel like there's a lot of crossover in the things I like and dislike about each. Like, I think the movie is shot very well. I think it's a gorgeous looking movie and everything. And I think ultimately for me, it's the script that fails it.
Yeah.
So, and they're both movies that I was not super aware of, like, prior to seeing them. I.S.S. I had seen the trailer a couple times, but they're both like decent, if not exceptional, January releases, I think.
Mm-hmm. Like, if this is like kind of the January crop, it gets me excited for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because these are two kind of swings, you know, at least. And I don't know. I just thought it was very entertaining, if nothing else. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be, the writing isn't amazing, but it was much better than I thought it was going to be. Like, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah. With a concept like this, you have, you know, a couple semi-recognizable faces in the cast and everything. It's released in January. It could be complete trash in terms of like writing and everything. It could be just really stupid. It has a high concept that it could just completely not live up to. And as you said, I don't think it completely utilizes that premise to its fullest, but it's not awful. So, which I think is an achievement.
It's better than that. I'm going to compare it to 2 Cloverfield movies here in a second.
Okay.
I think it's very similar to 10 Cloverfield Lane. I don't think it's as good as 10 Cloverfield Lane, but it is like a contained, not quite sure what's going on. Who is the same actor?
Christian in this movie, John Gallagher Jr. is the guy.
He is.
Yeah, which
I did not realize that.
I didn't realize that until after I watched the movie. So when I was watching this movie, the guy who plays Christian, who's like one of the main guys in it, I was gonna bet money he was a character from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He looked like this. If you've seen It's Always Sunny, the character just called the waiter, who is a reoccurring, very funny bit part in that. He looked exactly like him, but John Gallagher Jr. is the actor's name, and I think part of the this is one of the only movies he's been in, I guess, where he doesn't have facial hair, so he looks very unrecognizable in that regard.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, and he's also in Hush. He's like the guy in Hush, which I don't like Hush that much.
I didn't either.
But
did we? We didn't know each other when Hush came out.
No,
I thought that movie was so overrated.
I did too, but. For me, that's like the one blemish on Mike Flanagan's
Hush
that I've seen.
That's Mike Flanagan?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's his wife in the lead role. She's in a lot of his movies.
Hush is the movie where she's deaf, and then it's like someone breaking into her home.
Yeah.
2016. Same year 10 Cloverfield Lane came out. 8 years ago now. I need to rewatch that movie.
I do too. Anyway, we went off on a bit of a tangent there.
Yes.
You said it was like 10 Cloverfield Lane.
And then I was going to compare it to the Cloverfield Paradox, because this movie's better than the Cloverfield Paradox.
It is better than the Cloverfield Paradox.
And I don't really remember anything about the Cloverfield Paradox other than they're like trapped on a ship, kind of.
Yeah.
Something like
Just
that.
Just a lot of weird things happen in that movie with like no explanation is what I remember.
I like this a lot. It was, contained to one location, kind of like 10 Cloverfield Lane, and you're not sure who to trust. Mm-hmm. And it's got Mr. Gallagher Jr., John Gallagher Jr. in it. So... if you like that movie, I think you would find enjoyment out of this. If you like a non-stop-esque movie, you'd get a kick out of this.
One of the things I'm not sure, I'm not sure how I feel about it is these characters, you don't really know much about them, like outside of this ship, which I think in some way is kind of interesting because you could view it as just like, oh, like you're someone like else on the ship or whatever, and they say you leave politics behind and everything. So, you're just kind of a family on this ship. But I think it also does kind of hinder your ability to care for some of these people as much. Like, I feel like there's a couple characters that I grew somewhat attached to, but most of them I was like, they're just scientists on the space station. I don't know.
I think that's okay, honestly, because I think movies try to do that, and it just feels so forced.
That's I was there is a fine balance to do because there's a lot of movies like this that are obviously inspired by like Alien, right? Where Alien has the very famous dinner scene where you get a lot of characterization there, you get some backstory on some of the people there and everything. That's where you grow a lot, like learn to love a lot of people. A lot of movies try to do that. They even have a scene like that here where I thought they were going to do that. And it's oftentimes forced. Alien does it well. Some other movies do it well, but a lot of movies don't. I don't know. I think there is like a balance you could do where you could, but granted, I don't know. Maybe that's outside of the scope of this movie.
I think so. I think this movie works better, in my opinion, with the less information that you have. And I think that the less characterization you have kind of plays into that as well. Because it's like, I don't really know this person at all.
It's true.
So can I trust them or not? And where this movie starts to trip up and stumble is when it just starts giving you more information than the main character has. Like, it's like, because the first, I don't know, like half of this movie, it's like you're just limited to the perspective of Kate Siegel's character. No, sorry. Kate Siegel's Hush. Sorry.
Ariana DeBose.
I was on the wrong thing.
You're looking at Hush still.
Still looking at Hush.
Ariana DeBose, who
what else is she in?
West Side Story. She won an Oscar
that's
for
right. That's right.
I think she was also the main character in Wish this last year. Did the voice for that, but you're limited to that scope, and that's kind of what the trailer promises too. Is you get like you're limited to just the perspective of the Americans and everything, so it heightens this paranoia on the ship, and I think that's where it could be like the strongest. But it does give you a bit too much information too quickly, and as you said, it's outside of the perspective of the main characters.
I'm sorry, I just saw the top Google review just says space woke.
Their brain turned off as soon as Ariana DeBose revealed she had a girlfriend on Earth.
Yeah. Space
woke. That's pretty funny.
There's really nothing else in the movie that's woke, is it? Other than she just says she has a girlfriend.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Like, if anything, it's like, I can't trust these commie Russians.
Yeah, right. Goes back to that like 80s Cold War mentality. Yeah. That's funny.
They gave it 2 stars out of 5, so that space woke didn't completely derail.
Maybe
it.
They did like the communist.
Got to give them credit for calling out those commie Russians. I thought it was interesting. I do think like World War III breaking out from space was kind of a cool aesthetic choice, but
good visual, and it happened earlier in the movie than I was expecting too.
It happened later in the movie than I was expecting. Oh, really? I thought it was going to happen right away. Here we go.
I guess it is just 90 minutes, so pretty short.
My thing is it doesn't quite stick the landing, and once you get more information, it's like, well, now it's just not as interesting because now I know which characters are good and which are not.
I think the pacing and just general ending is kind of weak. It didn't really feel like a climax was happening when the climax was happening, and then the ending just kind of happens, and it felt kind of unsatisfying. So, that's where it stumbles the most for me, probably.
I still had fun. I like this.
It was all right. It was all right. You could do a whole lot worse than this movie, especially in January.
Mm-hmm. It could have been better. Certainly could have been better.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse. That's what I got to say about Space Woke ISS.
Who would you recommend this to?
Who would I recommend it to? If you like 10 Cloverfield Lane, if you like Nonstop, if you're somewhere in the middle, if you saw the trailer and you're like, that looks somewhat interesting, and you come in with low expectations and understand that it's not the best movie you've ever seen. I think there's enjoyment to be had here.
Finished 7th at the box office. Wow. That's
this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend.
If you like Euron Greyjoy.
Yeah, Euron Greyjoy's in it. I mean, it's good. I think, like I said, I'm pretty similar to where I was with Book of Clarence. Overall, maybe slightly better. So I think I'll end at like a 6 out of 10. Probably. It's decent.
There you go.
But it's also, I don't think it's like a must watch in theaters.
No,
you could wait until this is on streaming or whatever.
Yeah. Good like airplane movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, it kind of is. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what to watch. I got to kill 90 minutes. My flight's, an hour 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a good airplane movie. You will be engrossed enough in it that you won't be thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good,
and there's
good way
nothing
to
like
put it.
you're watching. There's nothing like explicit, like your neighbor turns to you and they're like, "What are you watching?"
Yeah, true. Unless they look at it and they're like space woke.
Yeah, space woke. I saw her mouth that she has a girlfriend and not a boyfriend. It's implied in one teensy discussion.
Yeah. It's like the one bit of characterization that she gets. Or
Well,
whatever.
here's another case of go woke, go broke, Holden. If that line wasn't in the movie, this would have had $1 billion.
For that one line,
Yeah.
it would have already made its budget back.
I was going to look up something. I don't even remember anymore. That's our non-spoiler review of ISS. We'll dive into spoilers. So if you did watch it, if you were one of the few who went out and saw this, you can listen to the rest. Or if you don't care, just listen to the rest of this. So spoilers going to start after this little jingle.
Okay, spoilers for ISS, Jimmy.
Well, we already spoiled that it was super woke.
Yeah, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. That's why I only give it a 6 out of 10. Just kidding. Does not matter. Anyway, so we didn't mention Euron Greyjoy really in non-spoilers, and I didn't bring him up really because I wanted to say that he plays against type here, I think. And I mean, I think they knew that like when making this movie, because at first he's like, there's a few scenes early in the movie where it's like, oh, he's kind of sinister.
Yeah.
You're supposed to kind of think that. And I'm like, okay, you're on
Is he
Greyjoy.
messing with the rats?
Is he messing with the rats? You're on Greyjoy. He's oftentimes kind of a villainous actor. But no, he's one of the more rational people on this space station. So yeah.
Really, there was like one bad person on either side.
Yeah.
Right? And even then it was like the one Russian guy.
It was like mostly
like,
the Russian guy that was just like,
I'm going to just start this kind of for no reason.
yeah. I mean, so backing up a bit, like part of the thing that we talked about with getting too much information was just the fact that you find out so early on that the Russians just got like the same orders as the Americans.
Well, it's in the synopsis. It says soon the U.S. and Russian astronauts each receive orders from the ground, take control of the station by any means
I didn't
necessary.
even pick up on that in the synopsis. Yeah. Yeah, it stinks because there is like maybe 10 minutes of this movie where you just like know the Americans have these orders and it's like, the Russians clearly got something, but you don't know exactly what it is, or they saw something or whatever, but you don't know what it is they have. And if they had kept that mystery longer, it would have been just way more interesting. But yeah, unfortunately, they played their hand so early.
Yeah, I think the more egregious scene is when what's her name? The girl Russian, the girl cosmonaut, the female. It's like with Nika or something, Veronica, and then it's like Nika or something. Something like that. And she, Veronica. Yeah, and she goes me Nika, and she's like, "What happened to my American boyfriend guy?" And they're like, "Well, I killed her with the space arm."
Yeah.
And he's like, and Euron Greyjoy is like, "I didn't know you were gonna kill him with the space arm. I thought we were just cutting off their communications." That was just like, we shouldn't have seen.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
Also, the space arm was dumb.
Yeah.
Like what?
That was pretty dumb.
What? Like just send him out there and cut off communications or something. I don't know. Like, oh, the antenna's fine or something. Like, there's no camera or anything that you can see the antenna.
I feel like the one Russian guy was just like so villainous for like, I mean, it's being loyal to one's country or whatever. I guess, technically astronauts, at least in America, are military personnel. So, there's that whole thing. But I don't know. It's so silly that he's just like willing to drop everything, and he really doesn't seem to feel much remorse about it.
No.
Either. There's not much conflict in that character, which is, I think that's where Euron Greyjoy's actor Alexei, I think that's where his character becomes more interesting, because he does feel a lot of conflict, and you see that throughout the movie. He's like, he does carry out like cutting off communications and everything, and he's established to have quite a loyalty to Russia and everything, but he also has a loyalty to these people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know. It's like you need to have some sort of inciting incident to get things. Other than like to get the actual conflict going on. Like one side has to strike first, or at least appear to strike first. And I feel like that is a really tricky thing to pull off in a believable way. Didn't quite work here. I still thought the spacewalk thing was a pretty interesting scene to watch. You get that nice kind of character development between the American crew chief and the and our main character.
Dr. Gordon Barrett.
Dr. Foster.
Dr. Foster is Ariana DeBose.
Yeah. So I thought that was like a decent scene. I thought it went on too long, especially when it's like, well, clearly he's just going to be taken out by the space arm.
It did go on for too long, which I guess they were like probably realistically showing how slow space like walks do go, but yeah, they probably could have trimmed it down a bit, implied some time jumps or something.
Yeah. But like once you just have the information, it just was like, well, now the intrigue of it doesn't work anymore. It's not like it's just not like The Thing, where it's just like you have no, like, who do I trust from beginning to end, that sort of thing. Just doesn't quite live up to that. Easier said than done.
Absolutely.
But the scene where like it just was completely immersion breaking when you had the scene where it's like, now we're just following Nika and the Russians talking to each other in English.
Yeah, and I think that's that's another thing that could have been interesting, was like Veronica, like her loyalties. I think if you didn't know that she like wasn't aware immediately, like it could have been a lot more interesting. Like, yeah, she had this like romance with Gordon and whatever, but she's also a Russian, so who knows? And it kind of seemed like she could be playing both sides or whatever. Like it was, I don't know.
She was going to just blow up this ship all of a sudden.
Well, that was also unclear. Like she was. So
it was a distraction.
A distraction, or she was literally going to blow it up. I don't know. That was weird.
And then she just gets killed.
Yeah, hit in the head.
So,
big metal thing.
Big metal. I felt her skull breaking. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's right. Felt it caving in or something.
Yeah. That guy was the worst.
Yeah, he was the worst. Christian.
I just want to see my kids. I just want to know my daughters are okay, so I'm going to kill all you commie Russians.
Yeah, he was the one that was clearly the most like agitated and on edge and everything. And and he's like where the climax comes in at the end of the movie, where they're making the sandwich or whatever.
They don't have knives like that on the ISS. Yeah. There's no way, right?
No way. I wouldn't.
None of their food would require that, I don't think, right?
I don't know. Yeah, there's just like this big like bread knife, but which I think is what they use. There's also like butter knives though, which butter knives make sense. That's fine, but I don't understand the big just like blade they have.
Yeah. Well, so again, the first half of this movie works really well because you're really seeing through the perspective of Dr. Foster, Ariana DeBose's character. And I think one of the parts that really works well is when the Russians are talking to each other in Russian. I think that's like, okay, well, I don't know what that means. So what are they talking about?
Yeah,
what are they saying? And like, why are they speaking in Russian? They know we don't understand Russian and they're saying this. And, it was, did the commander, did he understand Barrett, right? Did he understand Russian? There was one of them like kind of spoke Russian. And it would be,
he understood some because of that romance.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
maybe both him and Christian did because they've both been up there before. That could be it.
Like if the Russians kind of like targeted the person who could understand them, or something like that, or more of different things. Also, there's this whole like subplot where the space station is falling out of the sky that just does not amount to anything.
Yeah.
It it's supposed to put a time crunch on it,
but then they're just saved at the end of the movie.
Yeah, they're like, we need to
explained.
contact someone.
Yeah, you contact someone. They have to like propel them up from like mission control or whatever. I don't know. It was bizarre. I don't know if that's a real thing. That feels very fake, but it could be wrong.
You know what would have been more interesting? And I thought this was like a good idea in the movie, was when they talked about like these treatments for radioactive poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the command should have just been take the radioactive poisoning and return it to the United States. Like, instead of take control of the ISS.
That's my big problem with the whole concept is why is that the priority?
Yeah.
Like, there's clearly much more important things happening on the planet and everything. Why is the ISS like so important that you need to take control of it? I don't know.
They needed to do some further explanation, I think. Mm-hmm. Also, who are you communicating with? Like,
yeah.
Did they not bomb this one place? I don't know.
Yeah,
I never really saw Russia. We just saw America in flames.
Yeah, I mean, I understand like keeping the mystery as to like how much destruction and everything has happened, but it also just makes some of it, like you don't really know, like, is Mission Control still around? Like, why are they still around? Why were they not bombed? Like, I don't know. And then the end of the movie, they're just like, where are we going? I don't know, or whatever. Like the final lines, I don't know. It felt like that was kind of lame, and it just kind of happened. It felt like it wasn't a natural concluding point. I was like, no, they're just all right. They're just going back.
You could have done even less stuff on the space station, come down, and had a whole other kind of moral dilemma when you have these two characters.
That'd be kind of interesting, maybe.
And like, how do they treat this one character? And it's like, this is his science, and the whole idea of getting to choose who lives and dies, whose hands do you trust in? I'm like, these are legitimately interesting questions, and they just decide not to explore them.
Yeah, it's just not.
It's like a lot of the pieces were there. Like, again, this could have been just so much more generic and so much worse. And people are calling it generic and not great. And I think it's better than that. I don't think it's getting enough credit that it deserves, especially like from the visual department of how well the zero gravity is pulled off.
Yeah.
Like, it is very immersive.
I assume most of I don't know. Like, I know for some like zero G scenes you can do like the whole like plane filming thing where you do like kind of a zero G drop and everything, and some movies do that. I assume a lot of this was wires and stuff, but looked all so convincing.
Looked very convincing.
This isn't the Tom Cruise filming in space movie, I guess.
No, it's not. It's not. I forgot about that movie.
Whenever that comes out.
Trying to think of any other scenes that I really want to talk about in this. I mean, the what's his name? Barrett, the Gordon Barrett, the U.S. commander guy, gets space armed, and he's just still alive and comes back for like 5 minutes just to kill the Russian guy
and also get killed,
and then that's it.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest things where I was like, there's no way that could happen, because he got like knocked off. And I know there's a whole thing with like orbit and everything. There is potential they could be just going the same speed, but he's just still like by the ISS. Like,
well, he's like holding on. It's like he fell and he grabbed the side of a cliff, sort of thing.
I don't know. Very silly.
It was whatever. I didn't see that coming. I was like, I thought he was just gone. I thought he was going to bump into George Clooney up there. So yeah, I that part was weird, and it makes me like I need to rewatch that part of Sunshine, right, where they're on the ship and it's all kind of a thriller.
The spacewalk on Sunshine is very good. I like it a lot.
But yeah, no, it was. I liked it. Anything else you got to say?
Gosh, I feel like I had another like major thing I was gonna bring up. Now I'm blanking. Yeah. No, I don't know. It was all right. It was all right. It was fine.
There we go. You turned to me after the movie. You're like, that was painfully average or whatever you said.
Yeah.
I was like, I liked it.
I think I'm still kind of at that. I mean, 6 out of 10, maybe a little bit more than just straight average, but it's not as bad as it could have been, but I think there's also a lot of missed potential there.
Yeah.
So
there we go. All right. Well, if you had any kind of opinions you wanted to share, tell us why we're wrong. Put that down in the comments. If you're on YouTube, you can email into tompodcast@gmail.com to let us know your thoughts as well. But with that, Holden, we got to go to our last segment of the show, which of course is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, Jimmy. For What Are You Doing this week? I watched a few things. Finished Echo.
Nice. I have not started.
Fair enough. Kind of figured. Yeah, pretty good. I think it has the Marvel thing where the last episode is the weakest. That usually happens unless it's Loki. So, but I think the rest of the show is pretty good. So there's that. I watched a movie called Shallow Grave, which is apparently
What is it, about 3 feet?
No. 3 feet. What do you mean?
Well, graves are usually 6 feet.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
You never heard that? Buried 6 feet under?
Oh, okay. Did not make that connection. Makes sense, though.
There you go.
Anyway, no, this is Danny Boyle's first movie. Funny you mentioned Sunshine earlier, actually. Danny Boyle's first movie. It's like one of Ewan McGregor's first performances, too. It's this weird movie. It's a thriller about these 3 roommates who they're interviewing for a 4th roommate. They have this 4th one come on, and then he just dies. He overdoses the first night he's there, and they find a big briefcase full of money. And so it's just kind of this weird little crime thriller movie. I really liked it. Had a lot of style. I think it's clear that Ewan McGregor is a star from his very early on. He's this very poofy weird hair, very 90s looking, but very talented.
Hi, I'm here to be the new home roommate. Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Yeah, I thought it was very
You don't
good.
want to
Really
sell me
liked
any
it.
death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life.
But yeah, and then other than that, I started watching The Curse, the Nathan Fielder and Emma Stone show on Showtime, also Paramount Plus. Really good. I'm 3 episodes in, really liking it. It is incredibly uncomfortable for a lot of this show. It is I described it to you. I feel like the feeling is that it's like a feeling you get when you watch Nathan For You sometimes, except it's applied to a scripted comedy drama. So sometimes the awkwardness comes from awkwardly laughing. Sometimes it's just pure awkwardness. But I think it's very well done. I think both of them are very good in it. Benny Safdie is also, I think he co-wrote it, and he's kind of the 3rd lead in it. He's very good as well. Really like it. I've heard it ends very crazy. Very excited to see how that ends. But
Nice.
yeah. And other than that, Jimmy, of all things, I finished Metroid Prime, and I started playing Power Wash Simulator.
Power Wash Simulator.
Yeah,
that must be satisfying.
So it's one of the free games on PlayStation Plus this month, and I had heard good things about it. And then it's literally the entire game is you just go and you clean things with a power washer, and these things are obscenely dirty, and you can buy upgrades and stuff new nozzles and whatnot. But it is incredibly satisfying and relaxing. I lose track of time when I'm playing this game. It's very zen, I think is a good way to put it. But I putting on a podcast or something in the background because there's no music in the game or anything. So it's just something you kind of listen to while playing. Very fun game. It has a lot of weird crossover stuff. There's level packs you can get, official level packs for Back to the Future, which is completely random. There's a SpongeBob
Clean
one.
off the DeLorean.
Probably that's one of them. There's a SpongeBob one. There's a Final Fantasy VII Remake one. I think there's a Tomb Raider one. Just random crossovers, and apparently they're still making them. But I thought it's very good. I'm very addicted to it. I spent way too much of yesterday playing this game. I didn't have much going on.
To each their own, Holden. If you find something you like, enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it's just a game. I have such a backlog of games, and I saw this was free. And I was like, I'll try it. I've heard like good things about it, and now I'm like hooked. So we'll see.
Nice.
But what about you, Jimmy? What have you been up to?
Holden, I actually watched a movie this week.
Insane.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Friday night was free. I didn't feel like doing anything. I was like, you know what? I need to cross a movie off my list. Been on my watch list forever, and that would be Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder from 2003. Yes. Was excellent. I think it took a little bit to get going a little for me.
Slow, but I
did watch it in two halves because I was getting really tired Friday night. In any movie where I have to read subtitles, my brain I start falling asleep. But excellent. I thought it was really well done. I did not realize it was based on a true story until the movie
that surprised
ended.
Me, yeah.
But very, very well done, well acted movie that I think gets better as it goes.
The one guy from Parasite was so good in it.
Yes.
The actor's name.
So I very much enjoyed it. So it's very much along the lines of like a 7. Zodiac, I would say, very similar.
David Fincher
feels like a little bit of a precursor to like a True Detective season 1, kind of similar vibes.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were inspired by that movie.
So yes, Memories of Murder. If you liked any of those things I just listed, and you're a fan of Bong Joon-ho, which why wouldn't you be? Go check it out.
A lot of drop kicks in that movie.
There's one character who's literally his entire role is just jumping and kicking people.
It's so funny. I remember watching it
like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's one of the things that stands out in my memory. It's so funny.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's Memories of Murder. It's not really on any streaming things. I don't.
It might be Hulu.
I didn't see it when I pulled it up.
Okay. It was at one point on Hulu. It could not be anymore.
As of recording today, it's not on anything.
Okay.
So I rented it on YouTube for $4.
Sure.
So it was worth it. You can also borrow it from Holden. He's got it on the Criterion.
I've got the Criterion.
Blu-ray or?
Yeah, Blu-ray.
Yeah. So just ask Holden.
Hit me up.
Yeah, there we go. That's all I think I've got because I actually have been reading, Holden. I am reading.
What a nerd.
I'm reading Watchmen finally. Kind of again. I'm at the end of the second chapter. I'm just finishing it up. But
you like it?
Yeah, I do. I just I can only read for I do it right before bed, so I last 10 to 15 minutes. So it's gonna be a little bit of a
then you
time.
can finally watch the HBO series.
Yeah,
too.
and the Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah.
Which
is my favorite Zack Snyder movie.
That's right. So there we go. So that's the plan because Emily read it a long time ago. So I think the plan is she read it a year ago. So to read it, then watch the Zack Snyder movie together, kind of refresh.
You have your own copy now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had my copy borrowed for 3 years.
Yes. I started reading it. We were doing the podcast. It was right before COVID. It was the winter of 2019 when I was reading it. I got about this where I am now. Mm-hmm. So there we go, Holden. That's all I got for this week. What are we doing next week? Do we have a movie coming out?
I don't think there is, but Oscar noms come out this week on Tuesday.
Wow.
So we could do an Oscar nom.
Yeah. Well, I have Peacock for a month or whatever, so I could do the Holdovers.
Holdovers is almost certainly going to be nominated. Maestro's on Netflix. That'll probably be nominated.
Maestro?
Yeah, that's right. We talked about that before.
Maestro.
I can't remember. Poor Thing still isn't anywhere.
But
I'm entirely going off of predictions here, but
Anatomy of a Fall, is that on anything?
I don't think so yet. That'll probably get nominated. Zone of Interest that hasn't been anywhere yet.
We already saw Gran Turismo.
Yeah, we already saw Gran Turismo.
So we'll be coming at you with some sort of Oscar nomination.
Yeah. We got.
When do the nominees come out here?
Tuesday, I think.
So
we got some time.
We'll decide. We'll do one of them probably. There we go. But that's the podcast for this week. Holden, you can take us home.
Yeah. If you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at TOMPeyes@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. And I believe that's it.
Yeah, if you're like, why are these episodes getting so much shorter? You can blame Disney for dropping Echo all at once.
Yeah. We don't have really any TV shows going on right now.
I have been watching Percy Jackson.
Oh, yeah. I still have only seen the second episode.
I think we've 4 episodes in. Okay. I like it.
Nice. Yeah, I like the first.
I'm like, wow, I don't remember any of this. I think it was a Gateway Arch. I don't remember that. Oh, yeah, that's right. Mount Olympus is on top of the Empire State Building. Oh, yeah. I remember that part. Lin-Manuel Miranda's in it again.
Yeah, he's Hermes, right?
Hey, I'm Hermes, and I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda here. Have a shoe. You're my son.
Have you seen, has Lance Reddick showed up yet?
No, he's not. He has not showed up yet, unfortunately. But, yeah, no. Well, we can maybe talk about that sometime when Holden gets around to watching it. But that's the podcast for this week. We'll see you next time. Adios, pantalones.
Love you.